Hello everyone, welcome back to Behind the Tune, episode number 5. Joining me on today's episode is Oscar, also known for his stage name as PJ. Recently won YourShot in 2022, which would have been an awesome experience, and got to play at Snowbobbing Festival in Austria earlier this year. Thanks for coming on the pod and on the episode.
No worries, dude. Absolute pleasure. First podcast experience, so bit nervous, but here to talk about what I love, so
yeah,
chill.
Yeah, I know you were mentioning it's a bit nerve-wracking. Yeah, podcasts can be, because it's an hour of talking.
It's so official. I don't know. There's something about it.
But the whole point of this is just to make it as unofficial as possible, sort of get as casual as possible and just talk about stuff.
Exactly.
But obviously you've had a pretty hectic year, I'd say,
Yeah, definitely.
Coming off that back of last year winning YourShot, and then this year playing at an international festival all the way in Austria. Sort of talk to me that process and sort of how the year's been for you.
The year, well, like just the process of going to snowbombing and
I think I guess we can touch on, we'll start off with YourShot, because obviously that was your main thing, and we were saying before that people have their own misconceptions, their own stereotypes of YourShot, and I guess you being someone that won it, how was your perception of it before you won it, before you started it, and then how is it now that you've sort of gone through that whole process with it?
Right. For start, I had no clue what YourShot even was until literally the day before registration closed. I saw a local DJ's Instagram story, and he was like, I signed up to YourShot, made it through and stuff like that. And I had no clue what it was. I looked it up, and one of my mates hit me up. He was like, you might be interested in this. So yeah, signed up, did the rego. There was actually a point, you had to go up for these compulsory meetings every Wednesday up in Sydney. And being from Wollongong, it was kind of a trip. Yeah. And I was playing at this local club every Wednesday in Wollongong. And I was getting, just paid a bit here and there from that main source of income for a while. And I was actually considering just not going through with the YourShot whatsoever.
Oh wow.
At one point, I was talking to my girlfriend, and I was like, I feel like I'd rather just skip these meetings and just get some money for this week. And she was like, you're in it, you may as well just go for it. So I stuck it through, and I don't know, I felt pretty disconnected from the rest of the competition. I didn't really know anyone. I went to these meetings by myself, and I made a couple friends through it, but I honestly was expecting a lot of people to be playing similar music to me. Right. But there was pretty much no one playing sort of Australian techno and really fast, energetic stuff. And that's why I feel like a lot of people I've heard call it quote unquote corny, and it's just because it's a point for a lot of DJs where they can prove themselves and branch off into becoming their own artists. And so most of the people playing are beginners, so they'll be playing tech house, and there was a lot of hard style, which I found really surprising, and a lot of drum and bass. There was more hard style and drum and bass than there was techno. Right. Okay. Which
is interesting.
Is pretty much not indicative of the scene. Yeah. But they have their own scenes. So yeah, I pretty much went into it pretty blind. At one point wanted to quit, and then just practiced the hell out of this one set that I was working on, and then came out on top, which I honestly wasn't expecting. I was feeling confident in my DJing ability, but I did not expect to come out with the dub. So it was a pretty surreal moment.
Yeah, I'd imagine. So obviously it's 8-week program,
something like that. Yeah, it's 1 or 2 months.
Yeah.
And so it's actually, the competition's split into beginners, and over the 8 weeks, these beginners will receive training from professional DJs in Sydney and stuff like that. And then there's the wild card section, which is what I did. It's pretty much a completely separate competition. They don't judge the people together, and it's if you already know how to DJ. Okay. So I was going up against people who'd been DJing, some of them for 10 years and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
That was also a bit nerve-wracking, because some of these dudes, they'd been in the industry for so long, and they were so confident in themselves. And I was just kind of this little underdog, oh hey guys, and yeah, So I won the wild card competition, and then there was a beginner winner too. And the chick that won for the beginners played like, I shit you not, like 170 BPM, like hardcore hard style.
Oh, really?
It was like the most insane set I've ever heard. But
did you get to witness the set?
Yeah. I was actually standing like backstage waiting to see if I won while she was playing her set in like the finals.
Yeah.
And all I could hear was just like doof, 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 doof. It was
the hardest shit.
It was so nerve-wracking.
So they announced the winners on the day of the set, or did they sort of give you like a week?
Pretty much. So you have a lot of people playing over 2 days, and I played on the second day, which is when they announced the winners. You do your set 25 minutes in front of a couple judges and a couple randoms in a club room, and then the judges judge your set and whatever, talk to the other judges, and then there's a final where the two best people pretty much battle it out to decide who's the winner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
like a dance battle or something.
Pretty much, yeah. And so I actually went up against another girl from Wollongong.
Oh, wow.
Which was crazy because the guy who won the first competition was actually he wasn't from Wollongong, but he played in Wollongong like quite a bit for the same, like we're in the same group kind of. So it was like 3 people kind of representing Wollongong up against each other. But yeah, the other girl, Annie, she was playing drum and bass,
right?
And she was so talented. She was chopping it up like crazy.
Oh, really?
And then I did my set, and that alone was like pretty ridiculous. Playing at like Home the Venue. Have you been there?
Yeah, Home Bar.
Yeah. It was just full with like, I don't even know the capacity, but it's probably the biggest set I've played in terms of like people.
Yeah.
And that was just. The 25 minutes went by like that.
Yeah, 25-minute set, that's like not much to sort of judge.
No, it isn't.
Like, you'd have to like do a lot of things in those 25 minutes to sort of get the intention of the judges.
That's what I did. I was speaking to a couple other people, and I was like, how many songs do you have in your set? And they were like, oh, like 6 or 7. And I think I had like 22 or something.
Oh, wow.
So I was like mixing pretty much every minute. I made this set to be as like meticulous, like as planned as possible.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like you have one shot, so
yeah, the name speaks for itself. Yeah, so that 25 minutes is like
it's nothing. Like
it's absolutely nothing to sort of even be able to like not even just like play in front of a crowd, but to sort of be judged off it.
Yeah, and you can't really show who you are as a DJ off 25 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I did a good job of it.
No, I've actually had to listen to his sets on SoundCloud.
Oh yeah,
it's actually for 25 minutes. It's a very good set.
Thank you.
I feel like if you did it for a lot longer, it would be a lot better.
More room to do more stuff.
Yeah, you have a lot more room. But the fact that you did 22 songs in 25 minutes,
something like that. Yeah,
it's like a minute a song basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
I made it sound not too like jarring. And I used to, back when I first started DJing, I kind of like mixed way too quickly in and out of tracks. And I felt like I was kind of coming out of that era, and in the back of my head I was like, am I playing these songs like not enough? But no, it worked out. So
yeah. So sort of touching on like what you sort of the start of your DJing, sort of when did you start DJing? When did you start liking techno? You know, all of that.
I actually started DJing, what's the date? June. Yeah, June 3rd, right now. May, I think 1st of April or end of like very last day of May last year was my first ever club set.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
So set in a club. Before that, I got into DJing, I think year 12 of high school. During lockdown, we did our HSC.
Yeah.
And I was I just got into house music to study to because there were no lyrics. And I was like, oh, this shit's really good to study to. And then I started watching Boiler Rooms.
Yeah.
And got more interested in the actual like DJing component. It wasn't until I went to a local house party with some mates. Couple just guys were mixing on a DDJ 400. And I was just like looking at them and I was like, I reckon I could give this a crack myself. So maybe a month later, ordered in a DDJ 400. And during lockdown, last 6 months, I reckon I practiced like in my bedroom like at least 3 hours every day. I was just so into it.
Yeah, I mean, what else were you doing at that time anyway?
Yeah, pretty much. It just gave me so much time, and I'm really thankful that I hadn't started my career before lockdown, because I know so many DJs who were getting somewhere and COVID just like completely ruined their career, and they're coming back now. But yeah, and before that, I've been producing music for about started when I was in like year 8, so I'm 19 now, so like five 5 to 6 years almost. I started out in like GarageBand, like Apple Loops, which doesn't really count. And then I started making trap beats because, I don't know, white kid in high school. All I listened to was like rap.
Yeah.
So I started predominantly making trap beats, but I was really interested in just producing, full stop. And that's what I knew I wanted to do that, but I didn't like know the path. I couldn't figure out where to go until I found DJing, started making my own house beats. They weren't good, but it's something, DJ's like something that allows me to show off my production too, and I don't know, they just go together like perfectly. So I feel like it was waiting to happen. Did you
study music or anything in high school, or?
I did music. I played violin for like a couple years, start of high school, but I stopped that and then studied music. I didn't pay attention too much in high school. I was pretty much making beats like every class. And the music teachers like saw that and they were like kind of, I don't know, they were telling me to work harder and stuff. They could see that I was like really interested in music. And I remember like last day of school, one of my teachers came up to me. He's like, I genuinely believe in you because in this like modern industry, the other people in the class who were playing like classical instruments and like being drummers and stuff, he said that's like a lot harder to make a living out of doing that as opposed to producing rather. So spent pretty much all of school producing, and then I did a year of uni. I'm deferred this year. I'm also studying music at UAW.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you deferred to sort of focus more on like your actual producing.
Yeah. I feel career. I'm doing much more like practical stuff and getting legitimate experience. And the music degree is fine. The resources at uni were great. Like they give you studios and all this like Ableton gear and stuff like that. But I just wanted time to focus fully on like producing and growing myself as an artist this year. Yeah,
that's super encouraging that you sort of got that backing from like teachers, because
a
lot of the times you hear stories of like kids doing like that sort of stuff and teachers are like, oh, focus on this, focus on that.
No, I did get a lot of that.
I did get a lot of
that. Yeah, so when I was making beats and music, the music teachers would chill, but in every other class, I think they just kind of gave up. Like I didn't do terribly at school. I just didn't put as much effort as I should have. I still got good grades, but there was a point where they just stopped and they're like, we'll just let this dude do his thing.
Well, I mean, hopefully they can see it now.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that's pretty as I said, pretty cool. The teachers were sort of on your side in that sense. So how'd your sounds, so you were making what, trap beats in high school?
Yeah.
And then you sort of found house during the HSC.
Yeah.
And then that sort of just snowballed from there.
Pretty much.
How have you sort of seen your sound evolve over the last?
Well,
from like your discovery of like house.
Yeah. Well, the first year of maybe making house music was utter like trash, which is, it's so normal for everyone to go through that phase.
Of course.
But I feel like my biggest inspiration, and still to this day, is probably Morgrab.
Yeah, no.
Everyone says fucking Morgrab because I don't know. He's really up there in my eyes. And he also uses Logic Pro, which is what I use.
Okay.
That was a bit of inspo, but I just like the simplicity in his tracks. And he said in an interview once that I don't know, with dance music, there's a sort of like, I don't know how to word it, but simplicity sometimes works the best, and you don't need to overcomplicate tracks. So I started off making just really simple tracks, and kind of not basing myself off of everybody or anybody else, kind of just letting myself learn how to produce and how to learn this new genre. Because anytime you start making a new genre, regardless of what it is, like, you'll just suck. And there's so many ins and outs and niches of each different thing. So I was making house tracks until, I don't know, the rabbit hole of techno
overtook.
And I just found faster, harder stuff. And to this day, still Morgrab and KETTAMA are like my favorite DJs and producers. I think I derive my sound a lot from theirs.
Okay.
But obviously every DJ develops their own personal style. So I feel like I'm not a clone at all. I do definitely have my own style, but everything that like Morgrab puts out is just like speaks to me on like a different level. I don't know how to explain it. So I started off doing house, and now I'm more into techno, breakbeat sort of stuff.
Okay.
And I'm getting way better as a producer, like noticeably. In the past like 6 months, especially since YourShot, that gave me so much confidence in just myself as a DJ and an artist. And the tracks that I've been making pretty much this year are like the best I've ever made. So
okay, that's awesome. Yeah. So would you say like the confidence and motivation sort of propelled you into making better music, or like would you say that confidence and motivation is a big part of producing, or do you think like because obviously you can experiment more, you're more confident in your sound, or do you think it just sort of comes naturally? Like
I think it's a combination. I think as a DJ and any sort of musician, you need to have like confidence. Like it's pretty crucial, and it's not always easy to be confident. Like a lot of the time it feels like you're acting, especially in public scenarios. But if you truly believe in yourself deep down, then I feel like the only way is up. And yeah, sort of like I believed in myself as a DJ before YourShot, but after winning YourShot and just having a lot of people who had worked in the industry for a while tell me that they really like fucked with my sound and stuff like that, I don't know, it just put like a little pep in my step. And,
yeah, I'd imagine, of course.
I just came home and with like a different mindset from that, and I was just like, I'm taking this so seriously now. And I love making music, so I don't know, when you do something for that much, you're only going to ever improve.
Yeah, because you've been doing it, as you said, you've been doing it for a while now. Music's sort of been a big part of your life.
Yeah.
Since year 8.
For sure.
So that would have been, that's awesome that like you sort of, winning YourShot would have been a massive like step. And obviously you say everyone has them. You told me a bit earlier that people were sort of giving you a bit of stick for jumping on it, or like people have their misconceptions and their...
Yeah, a lot of people just assume it's like corny because... the music, like some of the music that people play there, but it's only just because they're beginners. Like you should never, it's something I've had to learn to do, but you should just be really open-minded about other people. Like if it brings them joy and they love the music, then who gives a damn?
Yeah, 100%. I agree
it's just
with that.
different scenes and different mindsets. So like I have a mate who's so into hardstyle and he's trying to tell me every week to come along to these hardstyle events. And like, I don't dislike it, but I don't hate it at all, and like I love that he loves that and stuff like that. So
that's actually very funny because my brother's the same. He's like a massive hardstyle fan.
Yeah,
like he goes to every festival.
It's a crazy little like everyone's jacked and like
it's got its own like culture. Like as long as even though it's like electronic music, it's still got its own culture, its own community, and like from what I've seen from my brother and like the people that he's with, like it's just like I'd love to attend one of those events. It's not personally for me that music. Like I wouldn't listen to it on a daily basis. But attending one of those events would be awesome.
The community is just like, I don't know, really wholesome and positive.
Yeah.
And he's told me like all these like dudes who look like they could kill you because they're all shredded and topless. Like they end up being the nicest blokes, and it's just a place where they all come together and just like have fun. So
exactly. I forgot the same story. My brother's the same. It's like all these guys look like they would like kill you, but I'm like, he's like, they're the nicest people you'd ever meet ever at any rave. And I'm like, yeah, that's crazy.
It's
I
great.
would love to experience that. But yeah, hardstyle is it's very unique. Because it's very fast.
It's so over the top, but it's what makes it.
To us it is. Maybe to them it's not. Because my brother shows me all these like different songs and stuff, and I'm like, how do you listen to that? And then I play techno to my girlfriend, and then she's like, how do you listen to that? And I'm like, wait, you haven't seen my brother's music. But
there's levels to it.
Yeah, there's 100% there's tiers to it. Going back to YourShot, obviously you played at Snowbombing, which is a fairly big festival, big artist there.
It is. It was amazing.
Yeah. Sort of, how did you land that gig from YourShot to play at Snowbombing?
So basically with YourShot, there was a pool of sort of festivals that the prize pool was pretty much getting a set at one of a bunch of different festivals. There was a couple in Croatia, one in New Zealand, Snowbombing. There were a couple like EDM, like trap hardstyle festivals in America and stuff. And they sent my set off to Snowbombing. And yeah, Snowbombing like replied back instantly what they told me, and they were like, we really like this kid, we want him to play at Snowbombing. Which was just like really awesome.
That would have been crazy.
And objectively, like not objectively because it depends on what you like, but out of all the festivals in the prize pool, like Snowbombing was the one that like everyone wanted to go to.
Oh wow, I was gonna ask that.
Which was the lineup is just like really good, and a lot of artists that I look up to were on that lineup and stuff. So.
Who headlined that this year? I haven't had a
Loyal Kana, he's a rapper.
Right, okay.
British rapper, but Jamie XX.
Okay. So it's like a combination of techno and
No, it was pretty much just like dance music. Yeah. But Loyal Kana was there.
Okay, yeah, just as a filler.
And there were a couple. I think there was just like a single stage for a day where they had a couple of like performers, like songwriters and stuff.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Sort of like, do you remember what other festivals were on that lineup for like in that pool?
There was Snow Machine, which is in New Zealand. And then there was like Yacht Week in Croatia, which is like a festival held like on beaches and yachts in Croatia. And then there's another one in Croatia too, which the other winner, Josh Fuller, is going to. And I'm pinching myself. I'm so happy that I went to snowbombing, but I looked at the lineup for the one he's going to, and it's got Morgrab and KETTAMA on it.
Oh wow!
And like, I would have loved to have like met them.
Yeah,
I've already spoken to them before, but to have met them again overseas would have been like a complete wig out. They would have been like, dude, what are you doing here?
So you sort of spoke to them before, like as like one-on-one, or you just ran into them, or
Morgrab did a solo show here a couple months ago, and I got him I wrote him a little note and like gave him a USB full of my tracks and got that to him. And then just through a friend who was like backstage, and then that was when I was like, I don't know, a little fan. And then I saw him again at Lost Paradise. Sorry, not Lost Paradise. I did see him at Lost Paradise. I saw him at Lost Sundays, and I was thankful enough to have like a small interaction with him. I saw him backstage and I dapped him up. He's like, "Oh, yo, PJ, pajamas. I remember you." And he said he really appreciated the note. And he hasn't listened to the music, but I don't blame him. He's like a really busy guy.
Yeah, of course.
And I hope he doesn't, because the tracks I gave him were like so dookie compared to what I'm producing now.
Yeah.
And then I did see him at Lost Paradise. I was like front and center for his set, and he saw me in the crowd, and actually he was like, "I love you."
Oh shit!
And that was really wholesome.
No way, that would have been sick.
He DM'd me afterwards. He was like, "Happy New Year," and that was like that was insane.
That would have been so sick, especially because he's like one of your inspirations, one of your idols.
Especially, but I don't know. I'm a massive Morgrab fanboy. I could talk about it for ages, but I want to sort of like having a Steel City record with his label is like a huge goal of mine.
Yeah.
I feel like it'll happen someday if I just keep working. But I would love to approach him now as an artist instead of like a fan.
Yeah, it'd be a bit of a different interaction.
You know what I mean? So
you still have like that sort of fanboy.
Yeah, exactly. like, everyone has like someone that they look up to like that. But yeah, he's someone that I would just like dream collab. Like I would just love to sit in a studio with him and see just how he does his stuff and how he works.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will probably be the same. Like his music, KETTAMA's music, as you mentioned, is very very like simple but very, very good.
It just hits.
It hits very hard. Sort of like, you said you met Morgrab. That would have been a crazy. You said you met KETTAMA as well.
Yeah. He
same
played,
sort of interaction, or a bit different?
It was actually pretty different. He played it. He was on Aussie tour. He played in Sydney maybe like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And I drove up on like 30 hours no sleep from Wollongong just because I bought tickets and I really wanted to see him. And one of the DJs supporting him, Shake Daddy.
Yep.
I'm kind of friends with her, and she got me a backstage pass, which I was not expecting. She was just like, "You can come backstage," and I walked into this room. Like I had no idea what to expect, but it was like KETTAMA, like Ludes, you know Ludes, the house DJ was Ludes. STÜM was there.
Fuck, all star.
And then CRTB, he's a Steel City guy. One of Morgrab's mates.
Yeah.
And then also like all of the Lost Sundays, like people were there, like the people who run it. And I was just like, I didn't know how to act, and I was so tired. I just had like running off Red Bulls. Yeah. So I definitely made some weird first impressions, but I got to talk to KETTAMA for a bit, and he was really funny and really chill. And so was STÜM. He just played in Wollongong too, which was good. But I felt like crazy imposter syndrome. And it's like the first time I'd felt that. I was like, should I even be here? There were times where I was just chilling in the room, trying to talk to people. And I was just overthinking like crazy. But I don't know. The more you meet people like that, like big artists and stuff, you realize that they're just people.
Yeah,
and like these guys were just having regular ass conversations. So
yeah, but it's hard for us to sort of make that connection when we sort of when we know them as this artist, but backstage they're just
exactly
people
and
at the end of the day.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's I got that from snowbombing too. Like I had the opportunity to meet a lot of artists, and we're all just people. We're all just dudes. Yeah. Like
Yeah, again, as I said, it's hard to make that connection.
It is.
It's difficult, but it's important that you sort of. It's important that we recognize it as well.
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like just hearing stories from people who are ultra famous, it's almost like dehumanizing. People don't even see them as people. I remember seeing like an interview with Drake, and he was like, people meet me and they're like, oh, you're actually nice. And that's just something like you shouldn't say to someone.
Yeah, it's like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's easy to say, like, just consider them as people, but coming from a person who used to just be a fan and now being sort of in the industry a bit more, it's definitely hard to sort of make that connection like you said, but I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's cool that you got to sort of experience that though, meet your two biggest, inspirations in
definitely.
music, and then obviously you got to meet a few others there, like STÜM, Ludes, and all the Lost Sundays guys.
Yeah, and they're all like so down to earth and so chill, and like everything, like the common denominator between everybody is that they just love music, and like most of the talk backstage was just about music and producing and stuff like that. So it's so nice being in a room full of people who just like love what they do.
Yeah, no, of course. And the energy in that room and the, I guess, vibes would have been crazy.
It was cool. Well. Yeah, it was such a new experience.
It would have been inspiring and motivating as well.
Yeah,
sort of just be in that room with them. Did you sort of get to meet anyone while you were at snowbombing as well? Anyone?
Yeah.
Any big artists?
On the stage that I played at, for like my main set, Sammy Virji played after me.
Okay.
UKG producer, and he's amazing. He's so talented. I do dabble in a bit of like UKG and stuff. I produce it here and there, but I do play it a bunch. Yeah. And he was like one of the first artists, if not the first, like UKG artist that I heard. And I told him that. But yeah, he was playing directly after me. He was watching me playing, and he came up backstage and he was like, oh dude, like I love your sound. Where are you from? And I told him I was from Sydney, and I don't know if he's going to follow through with this. I hope he does, but he said next time he comes down to Australia, he wants me to support him on tour, shit. That's which massive. Is at least in Sydney, which would be like insane. And I think I might DM him and follow up.
Hey mate, just like letting you know, remember this promise you made.
But no, I made a mate out of him, and he was super friendly, and we just talked about music and stuff like that. I met Surya Singer from Still City Dance Dis. I think she's based in the UK now, but she's from Melbourne, and she was so sick, so friendly. And I'd met her once before at a really random gig back home here, and she didn't know I was coming to snowbombing, so I was like, hey, and she was like, what the hell? It was really random. And then there were just a bunch of other, like, quite a few artists that it was cool to just talk to. I put a lot of pressure on myself to try and network because it was such a crazy opportunity.
It would have been.
But there was a point, like a couple of days in, where I was just like, relax, like just enjoy this opportunity that you've been given and just have fun. So like you can't force anything out of people, and I wasn't trying to, but obviously you're not going to click with everybody. And these artists, these massive artists, like they go to festivals every week, they meet so many new people, so it wouldn't be easy to make a genuine connection, but Sammy Virji was so nice. So yeah, I really appreciate him.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. Obviously you got to meet, you've met like a few now. You've sort of like met a few big artists. How was snowbombing though? Like, did you attend, like when you were there, I'm assuming you got like an artist pass?
Yeah.
But did you sort of make it your mission to sort of just be like a fan there, like be like a festival goer, or were you sort of more into like you're like doing all the artist stuff as well?
Yeah, well, I don't always like being in the crowd. In like a really intense mosh pit, because I'm not like the tallest person. I can get pretty like wrecked sometimes. But no, I was fascinated about kind of the behind the scenes, because it was my first time playing at a festival and like being overseas too. Just wanted to see how they ran things, and being backstage like for some like massive sets was like pretty sick. And yeah, I don't know, it just put it into perspective. Like I don't know what I was going with there, but yeah, it was amazing. I tried to like kind of weasel my way backstage as much as I could, obviously, just because I don't know, it was like I have one opportunity to do this right now, and that's where I met most of the artists and stuff. But there were a couple sets that I wanted to watch, like just from the crowd's perspective. Salute was playing on like one of the days, and the stage that he was playing on, you actually had to ski to, like snowboard to.
That's sick.
But like an hour before we started playing, me and my girlfriend set out to ski over, and like a crazy like blizzard pretty much just came. It was just awful weather, so I missed out on him.
Did any sets get like compromised because of the blizzard?
I don't know. I think they might have.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a full on blizzard, but the conditions up on the mountain was just like terrible. You couldn't even see like 5 meters in front of you. But I did get to see Salute and say hello to him, and I bought like 15 USBs and just put like a little bio and like some of my tracks.
Yeah.
And just gave them out to artists that I knew I'd meet and stuff like that. And I haven't received any feedback from most of them, but there was one dude, Ryan, and he's actually friends with like Morgrab and Effie and stuff like that. And he has his own Rinse show, and he's played a couple of my tracks on the Rinse show, and he messaged me and he's like, cool. I've been playing your tracks and stuff, so that was pretty awesome.
That's good. Yeah. That's like the first step to sort of get your music out there.
Yeah.
How was like the behind the scenes of like a festival? Like
experiencing
that.
Pretty chill. I always assume there's some like crazy massive team working behind these festivals, but at its core, and same with like Lost Paradise even, there's only like 5 people who actually like coordinate the whole thing, and then they obviously pay people to do things for them, like driving artists back and forth and stuff. But the team of people was so nice and so lovely, and it was very laid back. I would just walk into the artist liaison room the day I had the set and have a little convo with them. They would just run me down on what was going on that day, and it was all very casual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and how was your set at Snowbombing? Like, was it? Obviously, I don't know anything about that festival. Obviously, I know it, but I don't know what it looks like, how it's run. What was your sort of set? Was it in front of like a big crowd, or like were you sort of just like a supporting act, or like
it was
early on?
Yeah. It was. So it's pretty much in the Alps, in Switzerland, and it's in this little town.
Is it Switzerland?
Sorry, not Switzerland, Austria.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like, did I make a mistake?
Austria, I should know that. Yeah, it's in this ski resort. The whole town is pretty much a ski resort. Like, people only go there to ski. It's called Meerhofen.
Okay.
And it's this gorgeous little town, like really old town that's obviously been modernized because skiing and stuff. And around the town, they just set up these stages and venues. So the whole town pretty much has people walking around going between different stages. And I played on this stage that was like all the way up the mountain that you skied on. And it was the only one like that, yeah. So you had to go all the way up this mountain, probably like a 30-minute, 40-minute trip. And then there was kind of a little valley, and there was just a shack there, like a big house with a balcony, and like a couple hundred people, just picnic tables in front of it and stuff. And just like the setting, the backdrop, you'd be on the balcony DJing of this little shack, and the backdrop was like just the most crazy mountains you've seen. And then like snow ramps. There was like a snow park. So like people were like doing backflips on snowboards and shit while I was DJing.
That would have been sick.
It was so awesome. So yeah, I opened up that stage for the day. And there were quite a few people, just because people went up there to listen to the music, but it was also where all the like really good skiers and snowboarders were.
Oh wow.
Where they took their break and had a drink and had a bite to eat. So yeah, I would say, I didn't even know, there were probably a couple hundred people just kind of gathered around. No, there wasn't really like a proper dance floor,
right.
But Sammy Virji was playing after me, and I realized that didn't matter because people were just like jumping on the tables. Like the mood just changed completely because he's so massive overseas.
Yeah.
And he had like the whole crowd going. But yeah, I don't know if I'm ever gonna play a set in like a cooler location.
That would be definitely hard to top.
I took a photo of me cracking a beer open over the CDJs, and I put it on my story, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have a better beer than this, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like that will definitely be hard to top. 100%. That sounds 100%. Like a very like sounds very like a very unique experience.
It was so surreal, and I was playing one of my mates, Nick, who we were talking about before, Niche. I had one of his tracks in my set. And there was a moment where I just stood back and I looked at like where I was, and I was like, I'm really playing like one of my good mates' like tracks in Austria in the mountains before Sammy Virji.
Yeah, that would have. Yeah, as I said, that would have been a surreal experience.
Yeah, and it still is. Like the whole trip went by like that. I was there for 8 days. And I knew it would go by quickly, and it was surreal up and like I didn't think it was gonna happen up until it did happen, until I went overseas. And then I went overseas, and now it's like, it's just happened, and it's just it's so crazy to think about.
Yeah. So you mentioned the festival's like it's like basically a town.
Yeah.
But is it like your fun, like your stand-up festival is like an entrance gate and sort of thing, or is it sort of just driving to the town?
Pretty
or
much.
Sort of close the town off for the festival for those days.
It's a really small like European town. It had like pretty much one road in the middle, a one-way street.
Yeah.
Where some cars would go through, but the town itself only had a population of like a couple thousand. It's really tiny, and I think like 15,000 or 20,000 people go there for snowbombing. So you had to have like the wristband to say that you'd entered the festival, but pretty much like everyone just stayed at hotels in the town, ate at like the restaurants in the town. And then one of the stages, for example, was like it's like an indoor tennis club that they transformed. It's like massive. They take everything down and just put a stage up the back and like crazy light shows and lasers and stuff like that. And then they had a stage in the forest, like outside of the town. They had one on the mountain. And then there were a couple nightclubs inside of the town that they used as like venues too, which was sick.
Right. So how many stages do you reckon they were all up? Like how many venues/stages do you reckon?
Probably like 6 or 7.
Wow.
And they weren't all running at the same time. Like the really big indoor tennis one was like reserved for like Groove Armada played. And a lot of drum and bass,
wow.
like Kings of the Rollers, and I'm not big on drum and bass, but
neither.
like I like it, but I'm not in the scene. But there are a lot of massive drum and bass artists playing there. And I went in there to watch Groove Armada, and it was like Zombieland. It was a nightmare. There was so many people, but it was just crazy. Yeah.
So do you have to like ski from stage to stage, or are they like sort of closer so you can just sort of walk towards them?
Pretty much, the town is like you can walk from one end down this one road to the other end in like 15 minutes,
right.
And all of them were just kind of around that. And the stage that I was playing at in the mountain, you had to take the lift car up. The ski car, and then kind of we tried to get there skiing and we couldn't figure it out, and partly because the weather was so atrocious when we were trying to go to Salute, but because I was an artist, I actually got Sammy Virji and I got privately like snowmobiled up to the stage, and I think that's the most fun I've ever had. It was such a beautiful day, and I was like, just sitting with Sammy Virji on the snowmobile. We have a picture of it, just going so fast through these like snow dunes.
Were you driving, or Sammy driving? Or
No. Someone who worked at the park was driving.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was just that was awesome.
Yeah, that sounds surreal. Like that sounds like such a VIP experience.
Yeah, it was.
You would have been like crazy going from like playing sets in Wollongong to now getting privately escorted.
Pretty much
in the Austrian
Pretty
Alps.
much. Yeah, a lot of imposter syndrome, but
yeah.
I feel like that's natural when you're going from like one extreme to the other.
Yeah, of course, I imagine. So how did you sort of deal with that imposter syndrome? Like I'm sure, obviously, you made it through, but how did you sort of deal with it in the moment? You said you had a bit of imposter syndrome when you went backstage for KETTAMA.
Yeah.
And now you sort of had a bit of it, at snowbombing. Sort of how did you deal with?
I think it's probably more just being a bit socially like anxious around all these big shot DJs, more than imposter syndrome. Like I definitely did. I never have it seriously, but at the end of the day, like I believe in like my music, and I know that like I don't know, I deserve to be here just as much as the other artists, albeit like I took a very quick shortcut to that position.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I never feel like, I shouldn't be here, but it's nerve-wracking being amongst like just the top dogs and stuff like that. So I feel like I kind of just had to take deep breaths and be like, hey, like these guys were in your position
at one point,
a couple years ago. Like, yeah. So everyone goes through it, and they would definitely have similar experiences to me of being like really nervous and stuff like that. You just got to believe in yourself and just kind of fake it till you make it.
Yeah, in a way. I guess as you said, like the confidence and motivation, the confidence that you probably got from YourShot sort of probably helped that.
Yeah.
A lot. So
yeah.
I guess let's touch on like your producing, because obviously we've just had a massive conversation about your actual live shows and that sort of stuff. But what in like terms of like producing, sort of you mentioned that more grab KETTAMA is like your main motivation. Do you have sort of any other motivations or any other sort of inspirations that you sort of derive from? And you said obviously you have your own sound and you're confident in your own sound. Sort of how have you seen that evolve, and how do you see it to continue evolving?
Yeah, well, I'm really thankful that I had so many years during high school of just making music, because I feel like the biggest sort of factor in finding your sound is just time and experience and hours, like doing anything. So yeah, I was making kind of just like trap beats and other sampled sort of hip hop beats and instrumentals during school, and through all that time I discovered what worked for me and what didn't work for me, and sort of things that I realized I was good at production wise and what I wasn't. I really love sampling. Okay. I don't do it as much. Like when I was really into sort of, you know, like old school 90s hip hop and stuff like that, I'm still really much into it. But there's not a lot of opportunity to sample, like, unless you're making like disco house and stuff, sample like old records in techno. But I'm trying to figure out ways to do that. I love incorporating, like, it's a pretty common thing now, but like rap vocals with techno. Yeah, just like grabbing a 90s rap vocal and stuff like that, just looping it and slicing it. But yeah, how has my sound developed? I don't know. I feel like one thing that an artist said to me once was to make sure you're listening to just like a lot of music, not just dance music, because all of it will subconsciously sort of influence you and your sound. And so I already do listen to like a ton of stuff. Like I listen to like rock music and like ambient and jazz and rap and stuff like that, as well as dance music. And from one artist or one genre, I'll think like, oh, I really like this melody, or like, I really like the way they've done their drums here. I wonder if I can translate that into dance music somehow. And so in a way, the sampling has come back. And yeah, I remember someone who knew KETTAMA like personally, and he said that his music is like pretty much 100% sample based. Yeah, oh, wow. Which like, he samples like obviously drums and shit when you're producing are like all like one shot samples and stuff, but all of his melodies and stuff like that are sampled in a way that like you can't even tell that they're sampled. Yeah, like he does so much to them and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm focusing right now on I'm still kind of like exploring my own sound, but the tracks I'm making I'm like really enjoying making, and I'm really happy with. And I've started working a lot with like drum loops and seeing how I can re-chop them and like re-scramble them and stuff like that. And so I don't know if I could describe my sound personally of the stuff that I produce, but I've had a lot of mates recently say like, oh, like we've started to notice that like when you're playing one of your tracks, like we can tell that you made it, not in a bad way, not that it's like terrible, but like you're starting to like have a noticeable like sound. And I think that just comes from every producer having their own like methods that they use, like how they do their drums, how they EQ their vocals and stuff like that. It's just a bunch of small habits that add up to sort of your collective sound. No, that's actually really good that already you sort of developed your friends can sort of notice that, and then obviously that'll probably soon transpire into like other people noticing that. Yeah, and as you said, you've only sort of been DJing for not too long, like a year and a half. Yeah, exactly. Much, like producing your own music, like DJ, like techno music and house music and stuff for a year and a half, and the fact that you've already sort of developed your sound. How important is it for you to sort of have that sound and, you know, have it developed and have it unique to you? Because obviously you said you've got your inspirations and stuff, but how important is it to you to sort of have your own unique sound? I think it just comes down to anyone who's passionate about music and an artist and wants to express themselves creatively will naturally find things that resonate with them, like personally. And so, so when you're as a DJ, like obviously there's different types of DJs, and there are commercial DJs who play a lot of like the people's DJ, like they play a lot of crowd pleaser stuff, and they will like that music could speak to them too, like that's their thing. But I think, the more you develop yourself as an artist and as a musician, or even as just someone who DJs on the side or likes music, you just think certain things just like resonate with you and you really like them. And so, I don't know, talking about like the techno rabbit hole, you just find things that you like and that you don't like. And I started off playing really chill house and stuff like that, but I'm getting into like way more hardcore stuff now. Okay. And like peak time stuff. But to loop back to your question on how important it is, I think it's extremely important as a DJ to have your own sound, and I think it comes naturally if you're passionate enough. Because at the end of the day, I feel like everyone can learn how to mix. And at the highest level, there are people who are like insanely technical mixers, and that sets them aside. But the biggest thing that people are going to want to see you for is like the music that you play.
Yeah.
And so that kind of all culminates into like your style and your sound. Like I'm not going to go see like Calvin Harris if I'm going to listen to some like underground like rave techno and stuff like that. So I think it's fascinating to see how people grow as artists, and so many artists like Morgrab have sort of like, he started doing house and then went through an era in like 2019, 2020 where he was making really hardcore like techno, and then now he's kind of making sort of euphoric, more streamlined techno again. And so seeing artists' growth through their sound is pretty fascinating, and it can be a bunch of factors like what's going on in their life, how you're feeling at the time. It's just I feel like as a DJ, what I'm playing and what I'm making is not always consciously, but like a representation of just like who I am.
Yeah, no, that's actually that's a good point you make.
Yeah,
a lot of times the music is sort of what's going on in their current situation, what they're doing in their life.
Yeah, exactly.
Has that ever happened to you? Like you've sort of been through like another up or down, and that's you've made a song subconsciously, or you made something subconsciously, and then you look back and be like, oh shit, that sort of like reminds me of that time, or I can sort of see why I made that song at that point.
100%. If I'm having a really, really good day, I'll make like something pretty happy. And then if I'm not like really down too often, but if I'm having like trouble with something, I'll usually make some like faster, harder stuff, and it's a way to express myself, I guess. But yeah, I don't always do it consciously, but some of the tracks I've made, I'll look back on and they'll actually remind me like being in that headspace of like being really happy and stuff, and that can be uplifting too. Yeah. And so I think that's why some of the tracks that I've made are like really personal to me, because I'm emotionally like associating something, like associating an emotion with them rather. And that kind of takes me back, and other people might not always see that if I'm playing a certain track, but there are some tracks of mine and other people's that remind me of a certain time or a memory or a place, and who knows, it could make like a new memory for someone or a new feeling and stuff. So I think that's pretty magical.
I think that's a good point as well. You make you make a song that's probably like when you were super happy, or like if you were super down, then someone else might associate it with something completely different. Exactly. I think that's the beauty of it as well. I guess that's sick that you sort of as I said, developed your own sound. Sort of your friends can sort of already see that, which is just, I think it's like just a testament like your talent, like the fact that people are already noticing your sound.
Thank you. The only thing is I need to put something out. I don't have anything out on Spotify yet.
Okay.
And that's because I'm overthinking a lot when it comes to releasing music. But I know I'm pretty much at the end of my tether now with myself. I'm procrastinating so much, and like I have so many tracks that I could put out. But it's a matter of just getting them mastered and stuff. But I think I just need to just smash out like a release, an EP. I have like 4 tracks in mind that I want to release for an EP. Okay. Hopefully in the next 3 months or something.
Because you have your SoundCloud, you've got a couple of things on SoundCloud.
Yeah, I do have a couple tracks.
But you want to go Spotify.
They're kind of throwaways. Like, right. I released them back when I was worse at mixing, and I look back on those tracks and I've reworked them now, but like, I know they're just not the best from like a mixing standpoint. Yeah, right. Like the way they sound. I'm happy with the ideas, but I've learned a lot about like mixing and engineering and sort of like crafting like the actual technical aspect of a song in the past couple months. So the stuff I'm making now, the ideas are better, but they also sound like more professional.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm finally at the point where if I'm making these tracks consistently, I should put something out. And I feel like it is, I feel like it's the next step for me. Sort of, a goal of mine is to play in Melbourne by the end of the year.
Okay, that's a good goal.
And I feel like that's the next step, because a lot of the artists from Melbourne that are coming here, Six Sense, like Ned Bennett, all those guys, Sam Alfred, they have a lot of work out, like a lot of like music out, and so that allows them to have the reach to play in another city and like that. stuff like that. So
yeah, okay, yeah. I think I know what you mean. Yeah,
I rabbit holed a bit there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, but like, yeah. So you're saying basically that a lot of their tracks get released through like Melbourne labels and.
Yeah, well, having something out that gains traction in another city, I feel like is a gateway to performing there and people knowing your name and stuff. And I do want to get bigger in the Sydney scene because I'm not like, there's a lot more work to be done, and that's my focus for the next couple months. And I've got some really cool gigs coming up. But yeah, I do want to branch out and go to Melbourne, and I've had a lot of Melbourne DJs like play my music and stuff, but I feel like I need to have a proper release out. Just so there's a lot of my mates have been saying like, dude, like if people could listen to you on Spotify, that would help a lot for your growth.
100%.
So yeah.
Yeah, you touched on like you got a couple gigs coming up. You obviously you're supporting Sam Alfred in Wollongong.
Yeah, that's
soon.
that's huge.
And then anything else that you can sort of shine some light on, or is it still confidential?
No. I'm playing at the Abercrombie.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think I saw that.
June
as well.
11th. I played there before. I back to back with my mate Nick upstairs. Yeah. Played a bit of like UKG and breaks, which isn't my main thing, but I do enjoy playing it. And then I went downstairs after that gig, and the promoter for the event was just like, dude, next time we want to have you on in the main room. Oh, wow. Which is crazy because from what I've heard, have you been to Abercrombie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, it's pretty crazy. The main club room has like a surround sound function 1 sound system, which is what they use at like pitch, like the speakers at pitch. They're like pretty much the top of the top, like best speakers you can buy. And I'm pretty sure the sound system in that room costs like $400,000.
Shit.
It's like the only one of its kind in the country.
Right. Okay.
So I'm playing an hour and a half there, June 11th. And I really want to smash out as many originals as I can in that set, just because I want to hear like my tracks being played over that sound system. It would be so sick.
Yeah, no, that would actually be cool in that sound system.
There's one gig that I'm really excited for, but it's not officially been announced yet.
Okay.
That's towards the end of the month.
Okay, awesome.
But yeah, I'm taking them month by month and
yeah, of course,
seeing what happens.
Yeah, because as you said, you've got some cool gigs. Main room, Abercrombie, Sam Alfred, and then you've got an exciting one coming up that I'm sure you can't mention at the moment.
Yeah.
But like, sort of, how forward looking are you? Or as you said, you're taking it month by month.
Yeah.
But realistically, how forward looking are you? Like, are you looking into like next year already? Obviously, you said you want to play Melbourne by the end of the year.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of that foresight comes with having a team behind you, like a manager. I'm like, I don't have anyone behind me right now. I don't have an agent or a manager. And I feel like I'm close to getting to that level for someone to reach out. Once again, like releasing music and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty much all me. And I don't put as much effort as I could into networking and reaching out to events and stuff. Because all the gigs I've gotten so far have been not all of them, but you kind of have to know people and be in the scene. And I don't want to just like randomly be like, hey, can I play here? But I've had a lot of random gigs come up. And yeah, every month... it actually sometimes happens when I'm feeling really down. I'm like, oh, nothing's happening. I'll get a message and it'll be like, do you want to play here this day? And I'll be like, yeah, sick. So, yeah, for the past couple months, I've just been randomly getting hit up for gigs and stuff like that. And I have reached out to some and that's worked. But the more gigs you play and the more people hear you, and if they like you, you kind of grow as an artist and you'll catch on to other events and stuff. Right. So in the next coming months, I really want to put more effort into actually putting myself out through releases and just networking and stuff, so I can play more consistently in Sydney. And sort of the route is like make it in Sydney and then have an opportunity to play in Melbourne. And then if I catch on in Melbourne, then like if anyone catches on in Melbourne, you're pretty much set.
Yeah, no, it's a much bigger scene down there, 100%.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I've heard that it's really, really competitive over there, which I can imagine. Yeah. It's like DJing is a big part of their culture down in Melbourne. So I want to make sure that I have a stable sort of like fan base and I have something to stand on in Sydney before I go over to Melbourne. But I do definitely want to go over to Melbourne. I haven't planned that far in the future. And that's
not those specifics, but
yeah, that's how it's been so far. I like to kind of just take it as like the roller coaster that it is, because there's a lot of ups and downs, but the downs make the ups like much more interesting. And by downs, I mean just like not getting gigs and like not like having writer's block and stuff like that. But pretty much like still like anytime I get asked to play a gig, it's just a good feeling. Like I love DJing. I think I love DJing more than, I consider myself more of a DJ than a producer.
Right. Okay.
I love them both almost equally, but I just like nothing beats being in the booth for me.
Yeah,
personally.
and playing live music. Yeah, because you said you sort of like taking the roller coaster on. Like obviously you have people that like to plan everything and have it all set.
I should be like that, but that's what I'm hoping a manager would help me with.
Okay, and how is it like being at the moment like solo and being independent, and obviously people reaching out to you personally for gigs instead of like, you know, going to like an agency or anything? Is it? Would you say it's difficult, or you sort of at the moment it's manageable for you?
They kind of just come to me and it's manageable, and I like the randomness of it almost, which is a bit psycho to say, but having a manager definitely helps. But I've made it so far just by making friends in the scene, and I truly believe like deep down that if you're passionate enough and you like keep putting in work, like it will happen pretty much, because it's worked for me so far. And there are days obviously where like you feel down about yourself and like you have doubts, but artists of like massive levels go through that, like go through the ups and downs. Like I think it's inescapable in a career like this. So I'm just happy to be where I am. And I know the day will come where hopefully I get representation and an agency and a manager who are able to book better gigs for more money. But like the money doesn't really concern me right now, and I just love DJing, so I'm letting it take me wherever.
No, that's sick. I feel like that's probably the best way to go for it at the moment. Just sort of like not have, because if you put too much stress on it, then you sort of, it starts to become very like tedious and
and like I never want it to become something like that. There are days where I get sick of DJing. If I've had like a week full of gigs, I'm just like, oh
yeah, of course,
I don't want to listen to techno.
That's like everyone though.
But yeah, I never want to. I don't think I will ever get to a point where it feels like a chore, you know what I mean? Like I enjoy it every time, and I enjoy every aspect of the process. And I've seen a lot of people who've made it say like you should really savor the sort of the come up, or like the first few years of your career, because you'll look back on them and they'll have disappeared just like that.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm kind of trying to be in the moment and mindful that like just have faith in myself and that things will happen when they're ready to happen. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's actually really good. I'd never actually considered that like the come up is like the one most people say it's like it's what we grind the most, and
it's
like,
anxious.
It's the hardest.
It's the bit where you have the most self-doubt for sure. But it's just part of the experience, I think. And and I think the more you're aware of sort of the grind and the hustle, the more you'll be grateful for that happening to you, and you persevering and pushing through it. So
that's super inspiring, man. Like super encouraging as well. Like I feel like you've got you've got a lot of plans, but you're also at the same time, like as you said, taking it day by day. Yeah. You know, you love the randomness of everything, but at the same time it's, you know, you've sort of got a plan in mind. Yeah,
it's important to set goals for sure. And that's something that I've learned, especially through DJing, because I don't know, I didn't apply myself in school, and they were always telling you like plan out like an assessment and stuff. But DJing and music is like pretty much one of the only things that I really look forward to. Like I wake up every morning, I look forward to like making music and producing. Yeah. And DJing. And when you like something that much, you're naturally going to set goals for yourself. So setting goals definitely does help, but you shouldn't put too much stress on yourself, like in between those goals, because things will happen. Like I don't think there's a single DJ that hasn't been like, I don't know, stuff doesn't always go to plan, so you should kind of embrace that.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. Is there anything that you sort of remember not going to plan recently?
I guess, you know, Shake Daddy, Sydney DJ. Yeah, she wanted me to have to be on supports for her for like quite a while. I sent her some tracks and stuff, and she's really cool. And she was like, "Oh, I'd love to have you play before me at a gig." And she's hit me up twice on 2 different occasions, and she was like, "Oh, do you want to support me here at this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then on both occasions, the promoters of the event had already booked the full lineup.
Oh shit!
Like, and they'd asked her specifically like, "Who do you want on?" And she said me, and then they'd be like, "Oh, sorry." But like I can't hold him to that. Like it's just,
of course,
it's just
natural.
business, and like I'm not salty about it. But little things like that will happen, and it'll put you down for a bit. But in the long run, it's nothing. Yeah. So
no, I feel like that's just a roadblock.
Yeah.
And then
pretty much.
Yeah, it all comes around anyway. So, but yeah, I think that's been a great discussion with you today.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So much insight. Obviously, your snowboarding experience, your shot experience.
Yeah.
Everything there was a lot to uncover, and I feel like we uncovered most of it.
Yeah, how long has it been? I don't even know.
Oh, I don't know, like an hour or something maybe.
Yes, that flew.
Yeah,
sick.
That's when you're having a good conversation, it happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think we'll wrap it up here.
No, it's all good.
But yeah, if you guys obviously follow Oscar on Instagram, it's at
PJ number 4 real _ PJ 4 real.
Yeah, give him where'd that name come from, PJ?
Oh yeah, everyone asks this. It's actually my middle name.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah. So when I have an older brother, and when I was born he was like 6, and my mum was like to Max, my brother, she was like, what do you want to name your brother? And he was watching, there was like a Robin Hood animated TV show at the time, and the villain of it was called like PJ. He was like this cowardly lion. And because obviously being an older brother, he naturally just like disliked me. He's like, oh, another kid. So he was like, we'll name him PJ. And that's just been my middle name. I've never used it for anything until I was like, what should my DJ name be? And I knew that if I spent too much time on it, I wouldn't come up with anything. So I was just like, PJ, it works.
Yeah.
And I feel like it represents me as sort of a person and a DJ too, like not taking things too seriously and having fun. Like it's a pretty fun name. I don't know, PJ. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I didn't want to go for anything too serious. And I didn't want to use like my real name either. I feel like it's a bit basic. So
yeah, no, it's a cool nickname.
No shade on anyone who uses their actual name.
But yeah, I would have thought it'd be like your initials.
No, it's not.
Peter,
yeah.
just like,
I think technically it stands for Prince John because that's the character in the show.
Right.
But people just called him PJ. It's just
okay.
So
yeah, no, that's cool. That's actually that's a cool like backstory to the name as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Your older brother gave it to you basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, as I said, guys, if you want to follow Oscar, make sure you follow him. As he's mentioned, he's got a lot of exciting things coming up. If you like the show, make sure you guys like, follow, and subscribe on all the socials. And besides that, I will see everyone in the next episode with our next guest. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.